Week 3 of the Baltimore Ravens OTA practices are officially in the books. And with that being said, we have more news, notes, highlights, observations to talk about in this video. And we're basically going to break down everything you need to know about the entirety of OTAs, but also what to expect going into mandatory minicamp. Now, before we jump into the video, I do want to give a massive shout out to all of the Ravens media team out there who, work so hard each and every single day getting these highlights out for us and kind of enabling us to make these videos. So definitely a big shout out to them. Make sure you guys go follow their Twitters. You're going to see their ads at the top left of your screen. Go follow them for, live highlights and news around practice throughout the entirety of not only OTAs, minicamp, but also training camp as well. Make sure you guys go follow them because without them, these videos aren't really too possible. Now, with that being said, let's kind of dive into all the news and notes from around OTAs and, what to expect going into mandatory minicamp. Now, the biggest difference when it comes to, mandatory minicamp and OTAs is that it's mandatory, right? So all the veterans who, may have missed some practices here and there, like the Lamar Jacksons, those guys will have to be at practice and they will be practicing, right? Unless they're injured or, can't practice at the moment, but they will be there, present at practice. Now, the biggest question mark coming into Ravens OTAs was what the offensive line was going to look like and who is going to be starters. And with this team looking, kind of different on the interior of the offensive line, we're not really going to know who exactly is going to be starters. I mean, you have Andrew Voorhees, you have Ben Cleveland, Josh Jones, you have, Lalu. They're all in the mix for, starting guard spots. Then you look at the tackle position with, Roger Rosengard. He looks like he could be in a right tackle battle. You got Patrick McCarry, who is also a guy who can plug and play almost anywhere on the offensive line. So basically, we've seen guys rotate in and out of different positions at different times. And as of right now, we have no idea what the starting offensive line is going to look like. So honestly, do me a favor, comment down below your prediction. Who do you guys think is going to be the starting offensive line here for the Baltimore Ravens? Now, going into another very interesting aspect of practice, all of the rookies have looked really good, but nobody has really stood out so far. Obviously, the Nate Wiggins of the world, he's going to continue to get better and better as time goes on. The Roger Rosengardens, he's looked really good. But again, you got to take everything with a grain of salt because it's just OTAs. There's no pads, there's no contact, and until we get that, that's when we'll start to figure out which one of these guys are really standing out for the Baltimore Ravens. And if you had to ask me right now, I think Nate Wiggins will, not only be a day one starter, but could also be one of the biggest impact players in the secondary for next season. I know Marlowe and Brandon Stevens, but Nate Wiggins, man, he has the energy, the aura around him that you just want on your football team. And so far, he's been good, but I'm definitely excited to see what he can do when the pads come on. You also have third-round pick Adisa Isaac. He's been sidelined with a hamstring injury. Then you have seventh-round draft pick Nick Samak. He's working back from his leg injury as well. Tez Walker. He's had some drops, but again, trying to get acclimated here to the NFL play style. Lamar Jackson did miss a week and a half of practice, so they're trying to ramp up all these rookies. Nobody has really stood out completely, but a lot of these guys are showing that they belong in the NFL, and I think they're only going to continue to see that throughout not only mandatory minicamp, but once you get to training camp, things will get really fun. Now, with Patrick Queen heading to Pittsburgh, which is crazy, by the way, there's one guy that is standing out at practice in the linebacker position, Trenton Simpson. He has stepped into a day one starter role, and he has made some big time plays in practice. Probably one of the biggest standouts so far is him, right? You look at the linebacker core, you still have Roquan Smith, you bring back Kyle Van Noy, you just need another interior defensive linebacker, and Trenton Simpson, the former third-round pick of last season, looks like he's going to be that guy. So I'm really excited to see how he, continues to develop ahead of guys like Chris Board and Malik Harrison. You also have Josh Ross and, Deion Jennings as well, but I really do think Trenton Simpson's in line for a massive season. Now, before we get any further into this video, do me a big favor, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. It's free. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe to the channel, and we're going to be posting Ravens videos throughout the entirety of the offseason. Now, maybe asking, what does that entail exactly? Well, the rest of OTAs, mandatory minicamp, training camp, preseason, regular season, everything you guys can think of, we've got you guys covered. So make sure you guys join the family. Again, doesn't cost anything. Now, with that being said, let's kind of dive back into the video and talk, more about the DB room. Now, we talked about Marlon Humphrey, we talked about Nate Wiggins, and we know Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams will be really good players, right? But we have to kind of look past those guys who are going to be, plug and play guys. If a guy has to miss a game, like if Marlo has to miss, a game or two, who's going to step up and be the next man up? And I think there are a lot of guys that could potentially make big impacts on this football team. One, you look at Jalen Armour-Davis, the former 4th-round pick back in 2022. You look at a guy like TJ Tampa. You look at a guy like Demarion Williams. All of these guys have been really good in terms of just coverage in practice so far. And, I wouldn't be surprised at all if one of these guys makes a major jump up. Now, the starting line in terms of the DB room looks set, right? Nate Wiggins, Hamilton, Williams, Brandon Stevens, and Marlon Humphrey. But in terms of depth, I feel like the Ravens have probably one of the most deep secondaries in the NFL, maybe outside of the Philadelphia Eagles, who also have a ton of depth. But man, I'm really starting to like what I'm seeing from some of these guys in practice. I think they're really standing out, doing a really good job just, getting in and out, kind of running the routes for the wide receivers at times. So you could definitely tell they're putting in the work. And speaking of wide receivers, a guy they expect to have a major breakout year, Rashad Bateman. I mean, he's been up and down, but it seems like this offseason he really locked in, was focused on his craft, wanted to get better each and every single day. It's quicker in and out of his routes. And now that you have Mark Andrews back fully healthy, you have Zay Flowers, you add a wide receiver in Tez, and you still have Nelson Aguilar. I feel like Rashad Bateman set up perfectly to, take a major jump up this season, especially now that, Odell Beckham is in Miami. I think this is going to be the season for Rashad Bateman. So keep an eye on him, especially when the pads come on. Let's see how he does in that type of atmosphere. Also, Malik Cunningham, the former New England Patriots quarterback, is fully listed as a wide receiver now. So he's been getting a lot of work with Deontay Hardy and Tylan Wallace and Tavion Robinson, Sean Ryan. So keep an eye on Malik Cunningham as a guy who is an absolute playmaker with the football in his hands, and saw that at Louisville. I've seen that a little bit in preseason last year as well. Definitely just excited to see him, continuing to develop as time goes on. I think he's going to be someone who could really stand out. So over the next week, we're going to get a lot more film footage, highlights, news, and notes. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Comment down below. Who do you think is someone that could break out on this Baltimore Ravens team going into next year? Again, is it Bateman? Is it someone like a Rasheen Ali, who could be the backup running back to Derrick Henry? Obviously, Keaton Mitchell is going to miss some time. Devin Leary, another 6th-round quarterback who could definitely be the backup to Lamar Jackson come regular season time. You also have Emory Jones, Josh Johnson, Isaiah Likely. I mean, I love what they've done to this roster. Offensive line, still a lot of question marks. We'll see what happens in terms of that, but overall, this team is set up for greatness. I'm interested to see what they do without Mike McDonald as the defensive coordinator, but I think they are in very good hands. So hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, join the family, and I'll see you guys in the next Ravens update. Peace.